The Three Peaches. Once there lived a king who had one daughter. She was very beautiful but very willful. Many young princes fell in love with her and wished to marry her, but she refused all of them, with a toss of the head. At last, in despair, her father said to her, "How will you know which one you wish to marry in the end?" "I shall marry whoever brings me at Christmas a beautiful ripe peach plucked straight from the tree," she said. This was soon known throughout the kingdom and everyone said, "That is as much as to say she will never marry anyone, for where to find a peach at this season?" In the country there lived a good man who had 3 sons. The eldest was a shoemaker, the second was a tailor and the youngest was a scullery lad in the royal kitchens. It happened that on Christmas Eve the old father was passing through woods and to his surprise he saw hanging from the branch of a tree 3 magnificent ripe peaches. Quickly he plucked them and returned home. He called his eldest son and gave him one of the peaches. "Put on your best clothes and take it at once to the princess," he said. The young man did as he was told. He put the peach in a fine basket and set out to take it to the princess. On the way through the wood, he met a strange old man. "What have you got there in your basket?" the old man asked. "That is none of your business," replied the young man rudely, and went on his way. When he reached the palace, he presented the basket to the princess. She opened it and removed the leaves which covered the peach, but to her horror, she found that the fruit was rotten, unpleasant to look at and to touch. The king was very angry and ordered that the young man should be beaten as a punishment. Sad and subdued, the young man returned home and told all that had happened to him. Then the father called his second son and gave him one of the peaches. "Put on your best clothes and take it to the princess," he said. The young man did so, and on his way through the wood he too met the strange old man, who asked him what was in his basket. "Mind your own business," said the young man rudely, and went on his way. When he reached the palace, he presented his basket to the princess, but when she pulled aside the leaves, she found that the peach was rotten and mildewed, unpleasant to smell as well as to look at. The second young man was beaten as a punishment for daring to offer such a gift to the princess, and he, too, returned home sad and subdued. The old father drew out the third peach and gave it to his third son, telling him to take it to the princess. He, too, met the funny old man on his way through the wood. "What have you there in your basket?" asked the old man. "I have a fine, ripe peach," replied the young kitchen boy. "I am taking it to the princess because I hope when she has seen it she will marry me." "You are a fine young man, uncourteous," said the old man. "Here, take this tiny whistle. You have only to blow on it and everyone who hears will follow you." The young man thanked him, took the whistle, and went on to the king's palace. There he gave his basket to the princess, and inside it was a fine, ripe peach. The princess was horrified at the thought of having to marry a mere scullery lad. So she thought quickly and said, "I will marry you, but on one condition. In the royal park are 100 hares. You must take them to the pasture, guard them carefully for a week, and then bring them back without losing one. If you do this successfully, I will marry you." The young man went to the pasture, and when he blew his magic whistle, the hares followed wherever he went, so that he had no difficulty in keeping them together. On the third day, the princess, disguised as a servant girl and riding a little donkey, went to visit him. "Will you sell me one of those fine hares?" she asked. "No, they are not for sale," said the young man. "I will give you one if you kiss that donkey of yours on the muzzle." The princess wrinkled up her nose at this, but she was so upset at the thought of marrying a common scullery lad that she finally did so and went away with a hare under her arm. However, before she had gone very far, the young man blew a blast on his magic whistle and the hare leaped to the ground and raced back to join the others. The next day, the queen arrived, disguised as a maid, but she had no more success. On the third day, the king disguised himself as a groom and tried to get one of the hares, but again without success. At the end of the week, the young man returned and not one of the hares was missing. The king, however, still refused to let his daughter marry a scullery lad. "First bring me 3 sacks full of truth, then you can marry my daughter," he said. The young man went away, puzzled over this. Suddenly the old man of the forest appeared before him. "Take 3 sacks and go back to the king," he said. "Tell him about the 3 visitors you had when you were at the pasture, who each wanted to buy a hare." they were really the princess, the queen, and the king in disguise. As you tell each story, blow your whistle and each of them will jump into the sack. The young man went back to the king with the 3 sacks. He told the story of his first visitor, who had pretended to be a servant girl and had agreed to kiss a donkey on the muzzle just to get one of the hairs. As he did so, he blew his whistle and the princess jumped into the sack. Then he told how he had been visited by a maid who wanted to buy a hair, and when he blew his whistle, the queen jumped into the sack. Enough, enough, cried the king, but the young man went on to tell the groom who had come to him, and when he blew his whistle, the king jumped into the 3rd sack. You have told the truth, you shall marry my daughter at once, cried the king, greatly alarmed. So the young man let them out of the 3 sacks and the wedding was arranged in great style. The princess soon found that she had such a kind, clever and honest young man for a husband that she was not in the least sorry she had to marry a scullery lad. Thanks for listening. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. See you with another story.